Hi there, and welcome to a very special episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about fantasy, not quite books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Yes, thank you for being with us today as we talk about something that is sort of connected to books, but isn't books.
But also kind of not?
Yeah, we're excited to talk about Amazon Prime's The Wheel of Time, the TV series. If you find our podcast, a year or two down the road, you'll know this phenomenon is amazing and incredible, but we're at the point where we're still waiting for it to drop.
So if you're listening to this live or with us when it gets released, you're probably about as excited as we are.
That's right. We're in September of 2021 right now, and we just had the first full teaser trailer come out. And I say teaser trailer because it was 2 blessed minutes of amazing content, but there will be a longer trailer still to come before the November 19th actual season 1 debut.
Which to me feels a little bit funky just because that's fine, that's good, but it's not really what I think of as a teaser trailer. It's a trailer. It's a full-blown trailer.
It's amazing. Now, Flamingo Sedai in the Discord said this was funny. I didn't watch the trailer yet today with a sad face. Flamingo Sedai has watched it 50 plus times since it came out already. It's just not today yet.
Not today.
And that mirrors the experience a lot of people are having. I have watched this thing so many times. Every day since it's been out, it's so good. And as I watch it, it's like the books. I catch more than I caught before. That's why we reread, because we get more from it. And the same thing with the trailer. Wow.
Now, I do confess, I've watched it just start to finish twice.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
I went through a third time for 20 minutes just watching and then stopping and then slowing down and then looking at a thing, and I spent 20 minutes analyzing it through one look just because I wanted to stop and go, wait, am I seeing what I think I am? This shot only lasted for a second. I need to actually see what's going on. And so I didn't watch it over and over and over. I just watched really slowly.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see what we come up with then in the conversation here, because I have watched it a ton of times, countless numbers. I can't tell you how many times. But before we could dig into that, we do have some regular housekeeping that we should not be remiss to cover. So, Zach, how are you doing right now?
I'm doing pretty well. I realized it's been remiss of me to not mention up until right now that as we're recording this, it is, in America at least, National Read a Book Day.
Wow.
Because I did a thing I almost never do. I watched the news today.
Ooh.
And they said that on it. So if you haven't read a book yet today, you've missed it because this did not come out on the day that we're recording it. But Dad, if you didn't read a book yet today, go ahead and take time to spend 20 minutes, sit down with a book, and just read a book.
I have read
it's the day to do it.
From 2 books today already. Because I read some of The Dragon Reborn as I was prepping. I guess you could say I read
Indeed.
3 books because I also listened to Knife of Dreams for a little bit this morning. That kind of counts as reading. That's right. But I'm also, for brand new books, reading from the Rift War cycle of Raymond E. Feist. I'm reading the 4th from the End book right now.
I like how there's so many that you have to you count from the end.
Seriously, because the cycle...
Not how many in, just from the end.
It's got 30 plus books in it, and I'm so close to the finish now. But it's so good. And this is sad. With so many books in it, I don't remember the name of the one I'm reading right now. It's At the Dark Gate, something like that. But it's so good. I'm just enjoying the story. I don't care what the name is. Wow. Anyways, reading books, amazing. So much fun in my life. Love it. Glad there's a read a book day out there. And I'm only remiss and sad that I haven't spent more time reading than I have in my life. I've spent a lot of time reading, but man, I wish I'd spent even more.
Well, as soon as we're done talking about this thing that we watched instead of reading, you can go back to it.
No, I can't. because then I have to cook dinner, and after that I have to go do what used to be your
Oh.
job.
What's that? Cleaning a toilet?
I got to go with Mom to the child care and help put
Eh,
furniture back because the carpet was clean today.
Putting furniture back. I thought you were going to say putting furniture together.
No, I have to help her put things away and put things back where they belong.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
That
you've done
makes
that
sense.
the last 2-3 years, but no, I'm going to help today.
It's
So, okay. Anyways,
fair enough.
that's what's up here today. You were talking about how you were doing, and that's how you got to read a book. How I'm doing is just fine. You've heard what I'm going to be doing, and what I've done earlier today is just celebrate the other thing that today is about, Labor Day here in the US, meaning I had the day off and could just relax from my labors and do a lot of things related to reading books and planning for a podcast. So it's been a very pleasant day.
Fantastic.
Now, we always check on what we're drinking. So what are you drinking, Zach?
I don't know if I should say still drinking or if I should say introduced it like new. I get very confused about when we release episodes when they're out of order.
Yeah, this episode will come out before what we just recorded.
So for those of you who haven't heard yet, I'm drinking a nice sparkling rosé. It's a wonderful vintage, just a 2017, but at this point that's like 4 years ago. For rosé, that's nice. From the what's it from? From the somewhere near Lodi. I don't remember the full stuff.
Acampo,
No, it's out east.
Manteca, Oakdale.
Not a city. It
Sonoma?
was like still Lodi City. I'm talking about the like agricultural region. It was
The Lodi
commenting a specific
Appellation.
thing. Nah, it's on the bottle. Wait, I just recycled it. It's right next to me.
Let it go. Let it go.
Clements Hills.
Okay. Well, there we go.
That's all. I don't know enough about wine to actually know what I'm talking about. But you like to
yeah.
at least think you do.
Discord is drinking water, I should point out, and that is a very healthy thing to be drinking today.
It's also a very deadly chemical known as dihydrogen monoxide. Everyone who drinks it dies, so
It's
be
true.
warned.
It's true. Eventually. Not from the water. Okay. I am drinking a nice red blend, a wine. It's got mystery grapes. I don't know specifically. It was a Grenache, but there was more thrown in with it. Anyways, it's just good. Nothing fancy.
I always think of Grenache and go, does it pair well with chocolate?
I don't know because I'm not eating chocolate.
I want it to. Well, I want a Grenache to pair with chocolate so that you can drink Grenache while having ganache.
Gotcha.
I
All right.
I feel like it would work on so many levels, you know?
All right, I have a couple special notes to touch on before we get into today's content that I'm so excited to cover.
really?
I do. The first one, I've learned that some people have been purchasing our merch from New Creations by Jen.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Coffee mugs have gone out. So I want to let our listeners know if you are using one of our coffee mugs or you've bought a Frosty mug, take a selfie of you using it, shoot it our way, because we will post it to our Discord, to our Instagram, and give you your 15 seconds of fame.
Or if you don't feel comfortable doing a selfie, you can do a nice nature shot, something wonderful and beautiful that we can use in promotional material without having to pay something. It's fine.
Sheesh. I was just going to say, 15 seconds of fame, but when you put it on the internet, it's there forever. So just remember, this is eternal then if you send us a picture. But we would love those photos. And just the pleasure of knowing you're enjoying our merch would be a hoot. So if you're one of those, send us a shot. The other note for now,
Yes.
for at least the third weekend in a row, I checked our numbers. We've had over 500 downloads on a Saturday/Sunday. Just,
It blows my mind.
I know. It's
I'm
great.
still sitting here remembering that I was like, maybe 5 people will listen.
It is so
Now
cool.
it's 500.
So many people are enjoying our content, and that's all we care about. we love that people are hanging out with us, enjoying what we enjoy. It's great. So for all of you who are listening, we're glad you're here, and we hope to continue to entertain.
We do it for us, but you make it worthwhile.
Totally. Let's move on to our content then today, where we're all about Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time teaser trailer that came out here recently. In case you're enjoying this episode off in the future, we're talking about what was released on September 2nd, 2021.
Now, as a disclaimer, we are not sponsored by Amazon or Amazon Prime in any way, shape, or form.
We have no relatives
so
employed by Amazon.
We will be talking about the good, bad, and ugly, and at any point, if we do get sponsored by Amazon, we may take this episode down.
Ugly? Bite your tongue! There have been plenty of other content creators who have already posted episodes with their reactions to this, and there are still more coming out, but today, this is our day. I did already post a brief YouTube reaction, one of the first that you'll find out there.
You did.
Just a 7-minute blurb right after it came out. I just got onto YouTube and I went, blah, about how awesome it was.
And you'll be really proud of me. You told me not to check out what other people put out for content, so I didn't watch your YouTube blurb.
I am proud of you.
Because I didn't want your opinions affecting mine.
What's crazy is over 500 people have watched it, which is like, seriously? Wow! So that's great. But it was just a real raw, rough initial impression. I didn't take any time to study, to really break down. I just watched it through and then regurgitated onto YouTube how amazed and so happy I was with what I'd seen. But today, we're doing something different.
Okay.
We're going to really dig into this. Now, just so people out there know, I have notes. I always prepare notes for episodes. I often share them with my son. I did not today. So
he is blindsiding me intentionally.
That's right. My notes are my own. I'm going to have Zach talking a lot in this episode, but he hasn't had opportunity to know what I'm going to ask about. And I know, while he said he took 20 minutes to look through it and break it down, yeah, he hasn't broken it down to the degree I have. I'm confident.
No. I have thoughts, feelings, and opinions on things, but a lot of things are, like, preferential, not so much content speculation necessarily. I saved that for when you give me a question, how well can I think on my feet?
There you go.
From what I saw.
But your feedback and thoughts are still very legit. We have intentionally, by agreement, avoided watching all the other deep dives that are out there. Like the Dusty Wheel.
So far.
They spent 12 years. 12 years. Nice. They spent 12
hours whole years
on the day that it dropped with coverage and all sorts of content creators joining Matt Hatch, the innkeeper, digging into what had just been shown. I want to watch that. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I probably will tomorrow.
I could have volunteered to be one of those people. I chose not to preserve the integrity of just our thoughts. So we have not watched any of the other people who have put things out there on this teaser. I mean, we've seen memes, but that's it. So what you're going to get is just what we have drawn from our own conclusions and thoughts. Some of it will probably be wrong. I expect that. That's part of the fun.
But immediately after making this episode, we can go join all of you, and especially all of the other wonderful content creators who have done this deep dive into this.
Oh yeah, I'm watching the Dusty Wheels content as soon as I'm done here. Well, yeah. After I help reset furniture in your mom's classroom.
Just put it while you're cooking and while you're doing it. Just put it on the screen while you do.
All right, let's get into this now. So the trailer opens with Nynaeve and Egwene standing on the edge of a cliff, with Nynaeve speaking softly into Egwene's ear, "Be strong," before pushing her off the cliff into the water, a goodly distance below. Now, besides this being a captivating way to grab us as the trailer starts, what did you think was going on there, Zach?
Well, at first I go, content-wise, what the hell is going on? Because I don't... What? And then, especially as the trailer goes on, I noticed we saw a lot more of Egwene and Egwene-centric things than I kind of expected. So it kind of feels like we might, especially with that moment in the beginning, be starting our story loosely following Egwene, maybe? Which to me says that moment at the beginning is something that's like technically pre-books.
Yes, yes, I agree with you that it's something not in the books. I'll tell you what I think I saw there.
Well, not even not in, technically before books start.
Yeah. I think this is Nynaeve and Egwene at whatever the Emmonsfield folk do as an initiation when women are at the point where they're going from girls to women so they can braid their hair. You know, that was a big thing in the books. You're old enough to braid your hair, and then you are marrying age. I think this is hazing. This is the initiation, and she gets shoved in, and I bet there are other women around. It's just Nynaeve is the wisdom is up there with Egwene. That's my guess.
I'm also going to go out on a limb and say not a single man in the village knows what goes on during
Nothing.
this.
No, this
is woman circle business.
This is sealed to the women.
Well, and I'm totally okay with maybe whatever this is how it happens in the books. It was never explained. It was never shown. As far as I assumed, it was just they agree that you can braid your hair now. But maybe there is some secret ritualistic thing. Why not? We don't know.
It's cool. Yep. It plays through a little further in the video then, too. Because the next thing we see is a reveal of Emmons Field.
Okay.
And our three boys, Matt, Perrin, and Rand, hanging out at what we imagine is still called the Wine Spring Inn. I mean, we don't have confirmation yet, but from the books, we know. That's the Wine Spring Inn.
It does look bigger than I pictured it.
No, not
it
for
reminds me of, like, the Green Dragon.
Yeah, but it is the one
Lord
place. It's the one place in Emmons
Yeah.
Field. There's no other inns, so I'd imagine it's good,
But
goodly sized.
In the books, I don't think we ever really see it hip-hopping in. It's only got a few rooms, and it's noted when later on in other inns that other inns are notably bigger. And I kind of got the sense what we see for the Wine Spring Inn is going to be more or less the standard sizing for an inn as well. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it will be much bigger, but...
What'd you think of our first look of the three guys hanging out?
So I get it. I get why. In the promo pictures, I did not like Matt's beard.
Really? That one I didn't have a problem with.
I don't like it. In that specific shot, it was fine. It was fine. And it was good to see them hanging out.
His beard is what you could grow. Totally. It's what you could grow.
That doesn't mean I like it. And more importantly, I didn't like it necessarily for the character.
Okay.
But in the actual moment there, what we were seeing, yeah, it was fine. I didn't really notice or care. I think it was just in the like prettied up photos, it looked out of place. In the moment, nah. And I get the impression the camaraderie that we expected of the three boys, it was there. And
okay. Yep.
just a quick moment, I was happy seeing them happy, but seeing them having a friendship like I wanted.
Yeah, it's clear, and they've played it nicely. It's clear from the books, but it shows right here. These are guys who go back a ways. They're thick. They're friends who just enjoy hanging out.
And it's really weird that it was so easy to tell in that quick moment. And maybe it's because I have a book bias as well. But these are guys who are there for each other, but they also are going to give each other shit.
Totally. Now, the next thing we see is Nynaeve introducing Egwene into the inn. Now, it was easy to miss Nynaeve, but as the frame switches to Egwene standing at the entrance, you gotta look quick. Off to the right of the screen, you see Nynaeve moving aside. So I think what just happened there is they've come back from that initiation thing. And Nynaeve makes some announcement and steps away, and here's Egwene, now a woman of Emmons Field.
So are you making a thought rather than Rand comes to town and she's braided her hair rather recently? It's a Rand's in town and she comes in
Totally.
having just come in, braided her hair, and everyone gets that reaction of,
Yes.
oh shit.
That's how I think they did it. Yep. this big
I
announcement.
like it because that
I do,
that
too.
carries over again more into an Egwene-centric view.
Okay?
Rather than being Rand gets to witness, oh shit, she's a woman. It's rather, no, she's stepping into her own in the village.
And the video
And we're
shows
seeing that moment.
she's there like that, and it switches to Rand, and he's got this big goofy grin, and it switches back to Egwene, and she's proud and smiling. It's a moment.
We'll get back to the two of them later because
We will.
There
Okay.
is more to talk about.
Then we see horses riding alongside a river. We're seeing this from a distance, so we can't be sure what we're seeing, but I think I see the clear blue that would indicate Moraine, with a tall horse and rider next to her that I postulate is Lan on Mandarb, his warhorse. But then I only see 4 other horses in the shot. If I place this from the story from the Eye of the World, I'm thinking this is the flight from the 2 rivers, with the 4 riders being Mat, Rand, Perrin, and Egwene.
You are correct, assuming that Tom does not join them in the 2 rivers.
I think this kind of confirms it.
That is correct.
Yeah, in this adaptation, there's no Gleeman at this point.
This moment, so one thing that I have to say is kind of blanketly, not just this moment, but you see it here. The show is bright.
I saw people whining about that online. I don't
No,
get that.
I'm not complaining. I'm going to explain why.
All right.
So Game of Thrones, for example,
Dark.
a lot of stuff kind
Very
of
dark.
dingy, dark looking.
Yeah.
And it's because it is a grimdark fantasy kind of thing. Wheel of Time
Not grimdark.
is more Lord of the Rings inspired feeling. And what I saw was what looked like the original Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson movies. That's what these shots remind me of.
Okay.
Big scenic shots, bright inns that are warm and festive.
I like that.
And I'm sitting here going, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what we've seen. It's not what we're experiencing for TV fantasy so far, really. But it does have the fantastical feel while still being quality in a way that I know I'm going to enjoy.
Okay. Now, there was also speculation ahead of time, and I want to preface here, I'm a big fan, we've mentioned this on the podcast before, of the podcast Talk Around Riyadh, which is all about things about the show, Wheel of Time. And
Therefore, if they've covered this already, I imagine they have, I've avoided it because I know
that's irrelevant. We haven't
coverage.
listened to those episodes yet. But they did talk way back already that there was speculation Nynaeve would leave with them when they leave Emond's Field, because they expect Barillon, where she catches up with them in the show. Anyway, speculation is Barillon has been cut from the show. So the theory was she's with them all along. Well, I think this shot proves that's wrong. Nynaeve is not there. She's not with them at this point.
I think that shot proves it, but also what we're going to end up seeing then is we hit Shadar Logoth, the party splits, and somewhere within that chaos, it's where Nynaeve is with, and then split with one of the splits, but it's fresh into the group, and Whitebridge is where some of the other boys meet up with Tom.
Okay, hold your horses there. The trailer has no indication there's any Whitebridge. And in fact, I'm going to talk a little later in this episode where there's evidence that there is no Whitebridge. But
Whether Whitebridge exists or not, it's the point of a split after.
I agree
my
with
point.
you that I think what we see here now is Nynaeve does catch up with the group after the group has split. After Shadow Logoth. We have some scenes in Shadow Logoth where there's no Nynaeve. But afterwards, we see Nynaeve with Lan and Moraine, which is true to the book. So I think she finds...
Do we? Or do we see Nynaeve? Like, I agree, but the shot that I'm thinking of, Moraine's not in it.
but there's more where she is. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. Let's wait for that. We'll get there. The proof is there.
But
Okay.
we don't know when these things are in it, so
But
the proof's not
I watched
really
it so many more
there.
times than you did. Trust me, this all lines up. It's there.
That doesn't mean that you are perfect. I'm sorry, Dad. Just because you watch something more than me doesn't mean you know everything.
Man. Okay. This shot we were talking about, they're galloping on the river, though we can agree. Nynaeve's not there. Boom. Gotcha. Then
What's next?
we have a warder, unnamed, someone we don't know, that we see crying over what we come to learn is an Aes Sedai's ring. It's the first real shot we have of a ring, but he's holding it, and there's flames, and he's crying.
There's something bad happened.
And I have a theory. The only reason I can come up with on why he would be holding a ring and crying is that his Aes Sedai is dead. That's the only way that happens. And I believe we have a moment coming up where something else that's not in the book does happen on screen for us here that's a cool addition. That's what I'm thinking.
I can have some thoughts and feelings and opinions about it, but really, I don't care about plot in that shot. That shot is not about plot to me. That shot to me is saying the cinematography and acting is really good. Because it is a gross yet beautiful shot.
Okay.
And we get to see a close look at the Great Serpent Ring.
Yep. We'll talk more about the ring in a little bit, too.
Okay, I'll leave it be for now then.
Now we move on to a scene of Egwene coming out of a pool with all sorts of colored seaweed in it. That's what I think of every time I see it. Draping over her as she rises.
I think of it more as like oil dye. Like, you know how, or there's like a what's it called? The hydro printing type stuff where you put a film on top of a water and then you put the material down through and it like fuses on.
You got
it's a
me.
whole thing.
Anyways, what do you think's happening in that
I can
scene?
send you videos.
What's going on?
I don't think it's part of the same thing as when she got pushed in the water. I think this water thing is a different water thing.
I agree.
And I think it's... Okay, my guess, one of two things. Either one, it's kind of technically not really happening, and in some way, shape, or form, it's like a representation of an early grasping out for power kind of thing with, like, there's going to be the talk and coaching through that Moraine does. Or that's a very early look at something that happens much later in the books, which is a part of the accepted test, part of getting into the White Tower stuff. You see in the colors, not all of them present, but there's no colors that are present that aren't representative of an Aja. And I have no idea what it would be if it weren't something like that.
I think this is, along those lines, the first time Egwene has something that happens tied to the world of dreams. We don't get into a lot of the world of dreams in the Eye of the World, but we are there. And I think this is where it's going. And again, and we can say this because we're far enough in our podcast to say this, Egwene's a dreamer. I think this is her first time where she's having a real dream.
I just had a different thought. It's very colorful. It's borderline psychedelic. What if this is an angle on Tinker stuff?
No, I'm just giving you skunk face on that one. Tinkers? I don't think the Tinkers have anything to do with this dream.
Well, you're so sold that it's a dream. You literally said in your sentence,
it's a dream. This is not real. The way that draped over her when she comes out of the water, that's a dream. That's not real.
Substances absolutely do that. She pops out, and what I see is a duck that popped out of the water in an oil spill. That is oil paint on water.
But why would there be
that is
oil
exactly
paint
what it is.
In water?
The two off the on are very colorful. Maybe that is part of it.
No.
Maybe it's an intentional ritualistic thing. After all, as we later see, Aes Sedai a little flashier than I imagined.
Okay. Again, for listeners, we don't know what we're, seeing for sure. This is all speculation. I could be wrong. Zach could be wrong. No, we can't both be right.
I am wrong. I am very wrong about a lot of things.
But we're having fun with it. Okay. Then we move on to two views of Tar Valon. One from street level, looking up.
I don't like this.
And then another from above, looking out at the city and the tower with Dragonmount smoking beyond. Now that's just cool, that view.
There are a couple things that I'm going to say that I love how I saw.
Okay.
That second view is the one that I want to talk about, though. I don't like what I saw.
Oh, no, no, no. That's the one I liked. The first one I could have skipped.
It was beautiful. And I think it will do a great job showing the things. And I think it's a great representation. I don't personally like it.
Why? Yes, tell us.
For 2 reasons. It's just, it doesn't fit my mental picture. And here's the 2 reasons of how it doesn't fit. This is a reader thing. No, it doesn't fit.
That was one of the things I wanted to know about. Did it jive with your image of what you see?
Dragon Mount's not steep enough.
Okay, I can live with that.
They talk about it being a like super steep spire in the books that juts up, and I look at it and go, that looks like Mount Hood at best. At best. Where's my broken spire peak? I mean, yes, it did have a little bit of like a broken look, but more like a Mount Fuji volcano, not a chasm.
Okay, I can live with you having an issue with that. Now, in the Discord, there's concern about Tarvalon not quite looking like people thought it would be. That the White Tower in particular being too small.
Well, that's the other part.
I didn't necessarily feel that way, because I think people's image, when you really look at what it says in the books, it's not as tall as you think it is.
No.
It's like 500 feet tall is all it is. It's not really that tall.
However, to me, it was too fat, for one.
Okay.
And short in relation to the things around it. I think the things around it were too big. Because it is shorter than it seems in the books. However, it seems so big because the things around it aren't massive.
Okay.
And minor spoiler warning, I'm going to talk very vaguely. Future plans and partial action on construction past where we are in the books with our listeners looks more like what I think we see. We see like more to the White Tower than I think there really should be at the start. But I also picture in my brain more or less a white version of Orthanc. A sleek, smooth tower of white, not all these buttresses and beauty.
So I'll just throw out there that all of that has validity, but I don't care. Because I look at it and I like what they designed. That's just where I go.
I think
with
it was
I look
wonderful.
At it, I'm like, yes, nice. You have an island city.
I will grow to love it.
Exactly. And then you have the tower that rises there, and it's very cool. Just the look of it. It's not what I originally perceived in my memory, of course, as the White Tower. But that's going to be however it is when people, read a book and then look at an adaptation. But I thought the whole thing just looked cool. It looked well designed. There was an elegance to it that I'm like, I can live with that. Yeah, I can do that.
To me, this was I didn't love it, but I will grow to love it, as opposed to I didn't like it and I'm going to dislike it. I will grow to love this one.
One thing I'll mention is the book mentions tower grounds, and as I looked at it carefully, there are grounds around inside the walls before the tower itself goes up. You can see there's space, significant space for grounds.
It does look a little bit too industrial, if only because maybe this was just my spotty recollection, but I felt as if there should be more foliage and like a more or less a central park that I could have seen, because the grove is still intact.
We don't see the other side of the island. In either angle, we never see the other side of the island. So it could be over there.
So maybe it's just over there has all the trees.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. They hadn't finished CGIing those trees.
So I didn't have a problem with that. I also appreciated how you can see that there are villages, things beyond the tower, on the other side of the river. You can see that in that very first image, that there's something over there.
Book appropriate.
Yes. Then we jump to Moraine Sedai, entering somewhere clearly in travel clothes. I'm guessing we've jumped back to Emmett's Field. This is her first appearance in the opening episode. And there's that Aes Sedai ring on her finger as she's, pulling her hood back and scarf, whatever thing.
Okay.
Then we see a scene of a person floating down a river through a ravine, and a close-up that could be the same scene, showing it to be Egwene floating in some water. But we don't know for sure that's the same scene, actually. They could have just messed with us, and a far shot looking down a ravine with somebody floating, and then a close-up of Egwene.
I don't know. Between what you think is a dream, the initial pushing thing that isn't in the books but is cool, these two shots, there are enough things with rivers and water in general that's a little hard to figure out, okay, what's what does this mean for the story?
Exactly. So these could be totally separate moments.
All we know is people are going to get wet.
Yeah. Then things, and I'll just say, this is something I appreciate, though, about the teaser trailer. Things are not necessarily in order. They've taken things out of context just to make a great trailer and get people interested. So they haven't totally ruined things for people. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, things shift to one of the cooler moments for me. The Hall of the Tower, where we see 7 sets of sitters in their various colors, all arranged around a round hall, and there's 8 sisters standing in the center facing the Amerlin seat, which at first we can only see as the back of a chair. We get a close-up of her in a moment. And we also do see off to the side Lyanna Sedai, the Keeper of the Chronicles, looking all badass. Of those 8 Aes Sedai standing in the center, we see 4 are red, 3 are green, and 1 is blue. Now, this is not a scene we see in the books.
No, but I can kind of imagine what it is.
Well, I'll give you a chance to tell me, but let me finish. We can tell the blue dead center is Moraine. I'm speculating beside her is Leandrin of the red, and Alana Mosfani of the green, because those are 2 very prominent ones that we learn very early in the books. And that's as far as I can go on that scene. What do you think is going on here?
So I have to pair it with something we see a little bit later, and that's that I think it's potentially possible that the party that more or less has captured and is bringing like Logain,
Yep.
Moraine and them and co meet up with them. And in some way, shape, or form, they get back to the tower, and either they're explaining the journey or explaining we don't have him right now.
I 100% agree with you. I think they do have him, though they have to explain stuff.
There's some dead warders and a couple Aes Sedai. Sorry. I do want to mention the Hall of the Tower itself. The sitters, they're very bold colors. I like it. It feels a little bit like overdone, campy, hokey, but at the same time, like to me, that's straight out of the books. When it's in this setting, this very proper setting, the Hall of the Tower specifically, that's when they all actually like wear their color and they all actually wear their shawls, and it's super bold colors. And I'm like, yes. I don't love how it looks, and yet I love how it looks for book accuracy to me in that moment.
Let me spin that a little different. We see a lot of different views of Aes Sedai in the trailer, and we see them very true to Aja as to what they're wearing.
I haven't seen a lot of shawls.
But we see a lot of diversity as to how they live out their color. Like, they don't all have the same uniform. And so I appreciate it, how there's a lot of variation.
I am a little surprised by the amount of what seemed to be almost like pants combat wear.
It's real world.
Out of like reds and greens.
Makes sense to me.
Yes, real world. Except Min. It doesn't make sense story-wise.
Adaptation, my friend.
It's so strange that she was wearing pants and stuff. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I like it. Pants are better. This is smarter. It's not book accurate, but I like it. I wonder if Min will stand out if she's in there.
Yeah, but the kind of pants they're wearing are not the ones that show up their nicely shaped calves and their gluteus maximus. Min's are.
I'm sorry, but what do you really... No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Just because I'm
Are you
sorry, just because
kidding?
she has a nice ass doesn't mean she's wearing yoga pants.
You clearly have not read the series in a little while now, because Min spends
No, no,
three
I have
quarters of
read
the
it.
series wearing things that totally
I'm not
flaunt her
kidding.
assets.
Look me in the eyes. I just read when she's first introduced to my girlfriend like 3 days ago.
First introduced is before she adapts to try to start
Nope.
flaunting for Rand, which is three quarters of the
Nope.
book. Yes.
Yeah, but she's already being looked at as weird and scandalous and wearing boys' clothes, and
Yes,
it's
boys'
not about
clothes.
whether or not it's scandalous. My point is that she was looked at as weird for wearing pants, not for wearing pants that hugged her ass.
Yeah, but the women that you're describing now, they're not wearing pants.
Yeah, they are.
They're wearing dresses with divided pant things.
All right. What I need for you is to play a female monk in D&D.
Which I have
And
done.
we're going to design some character art for you. Because those are pants.
But what we're seeing in The Wheel of Time are women wearing very practical, blousy pants.
Are pants.
They're divided for riding, but they still look somewhat dressy.
No. What's crazy for me here is I like the depiction and adaptation. I just think you're insane with your interpretation of what that means.
No, I completely agree with you that I like how it looks. What I'm telling you is what Min is going to be wearing will be shockingly different, which is why it will still
think so.
stand out as whoa.
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think the pants are going to be a talking point.
we have time for you to be proven wrong yet.
Or at least not between she and the Aes Sedai. Maybe between she and just women in general. Not Aes Sedai.
Then we get that quick view of the Amerlin seat, Swan Sanche. I very much like what I see there, with one exception. I was surprised at how faint the colors of the Ajas are in her 7-colored stole. They're like washed out. They're barely there.
What bothers me most about that specifically is that because they're so washed out, it mostly looks white. And that's being one of the colors feels wrong. The other part of it is it's too fancy.
I didn't have a problem with it being fancy, especially if, like, she has more than one multicolored stole. Like, this is the official stole for when the hall is meeting, and maybe she has another one that's different, not so fancy. Because she was all get up. She was in her regal absolute for that. It was obvious. I mean, do you see the things on her shoulders? She wouldn't wear that all the time.
To me, that's all one piece. That's a robe. She's not wearing a stole with it. That looks like it's all one piece connected.
So it might be the ultimate formal outfit. Yeah.
And so maybe, yeah, it's worked in, and maybe it is her formal wear or something. But it feels garish. Doesn't help that I think it's kind of ugly.
Now, at the same time, it wasn't a game breaker for me. I'm like, it's like, all right, there's the stole. Yay. It wasn't what I pictured.
Yeah, no.
I can live with it. It's fine. Now, what about the
biggest
tattoos?
thing was I wasn't excited about it.
Talk to me about the tattoos.
I'm not sure they are.
Tell me more.
We talked about it potentially being a fancy ceremonial dress and stuff. In a similar way, these could be fancy ceremonial markings tattoo-like, but not necessarily. They also could be. I really don't have a problem either way. But I think body art as a form of tradition and ceremony isn't unheard of. And I would be okay with it either way. I don't really care. The Discord mentions it could be like one power tattoos. I don't like that. I don't. Now, if you're meaning like representative of the power, cool. If you mean like magic, nah, just because if they lost the art of making like Terran magic tattoos feel like a stretch. I don't know.
We switch to a scene where a green Aes Sedai is using the one power to heal a wounded Moraine. Now I got 4 comments came to mind there.
Mm-hmm.
One, we're seeing an Aes Sedai ring again.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see clearly that, yes, it includes a snake eating a tail, like we're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
see, but it obviously has much more to it than what the books imply. But I think that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool. And they clearly include a gemstone that ties to their Aja. Did you catch that? Like, she's a green. She's wearing all green. She's got a green stone. Moraine had a blue stone.
See, that's very curious to me because they don't get it when they choose their Aja in the books.
That's true. But maybe they get a different version.
They get it when they're accepted. So maybe they get it and it's like a clear quartz, and when they choose their Aja, it's bound and changes color or something, like a mood ring.
Wouldn't that be cool? Discord said the same thing just as you said it, like a mood ring. Wouldn't that be cool? It just transforms.
I'd be down for it.
Nice.
And I think it has, I mean, maybe it's even symbolic of like, you're not supposed to make the choice, but rather like subconsciously you make the choice, you come out of some test and
the wand chooses the wizard.
it's changed the color and you've made the decision without ever stating the decision.
Oh, how about that?
That could be cool. I'd be down for it.
I can't tell if this green is one of the Aes Sedai we saw in the scene with the Hall of the Tower. Maybe, but I couldn't tell. I do not.
I think the two interesting things being, one, it's a green healing, so they're not in the tower.
Right.
If they were in the tower, it'd be a yellow.
It seems more like battlefield healing. Yeah.
Two, this is not in the book.
Right. That's exactly what I was about to say.
When does Moraine get stabbed?
Yeah, there's no scene where Moraine was wounded like that and needed healing. So, adaptation change. However, cool. We do get to see the one power here in the trailer being used for the first time. What did you think of how they portrayed that?
Personally, I love it.
Me too.
I think it rides the line between seeing the weaves and not seeing the weaves,
They're very transparent.
so that we as the viewer see the weaves, but we can imagine that common people can't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I loved what they did it.
That it is something that can be seen, but it's not seen well. And so only people who are able to channel can see it.
One of the things I'd posted on Twitter about this was that I just really hope they didn't screw up the weaves. And I don't think they did. They did it different than a lot of people are going to picture, but I think it's cool. I think what they pulled off works.
Yeah. No, I'm super down for it, period.
Then we get a broad shot of the One Power being drawn in over Emmons Field in some very broad and dramatic way. We'll see later in the video that this is actually Moraine during the Winter Night scene. And if you look there, you can see a blue form way down in the center of the picture.
Yeah, no, I wasn't confused about what that was. I thought that was pretty straightforward, that it was the same scene kind of thing.
It was all very showy, with all the power being coming from all these different directions and all being swirled to the center. And to me, I look at that and I go, okay, that's designed to look very impressive for TV. That is not at all how I picture this in the books. But I'm comfortable giving Amazon Prime some leeway here. They need to attract an audience. That's kind of like, okay, I can work with it. What do you think?
I'm going to disagree a little bit and say that's exactly how you, because we see throwing fire and calling lightning, and something like gathering a storm and calling lightning, to me, is a very broad, swirling use of weaves. I think it's actually a really clever depiction of what is it she's doing.
From pulling all over from the whole breadth of the town down into her? Really?
How does lightning actually work?
Lightning is lightning. I don't care. But the sense that the one power has to be pulled in threads from like
I don't think that's what we're
hundreds of
seeing.
yards into her.
I don't think so. I don't think that's what we're seeing.
Really?
I
What
don't
do you
think
think we're
she's
seeing?
pulling it into her.
But it's flowing
I think
that
what
way.
we're seeing is it's flowing and being twisted around. It has to channel through her, yes. Because she's the one channeling it. But she's twisting and moving and weaving these pieces together. And I think that complicated hex of pattern that we kind of see moving around is a really good depiction of weaving something a little more complicated together.
Well, Discord agrees with you. And I'll go back to my original point. I thought it was cool and I didn't care. If Amazon wanted to do it like that, I could live with it because it did look very impressive. It, again, didn't match the way I pictured things, but I can live with it. Then we switched to 4 red sisters. They're outside somewhere looking confrontational and badass. The blonde, again, being the one I mentioned in the Hall of Tower, I think is Leandrin. Boo.
Probably.
And then there's a killer moment.
She's great.
There's a killer moment of fierceness of Lyanna Sedai as keeper with the staff. Bam! Back in the tower. It just jumps to that. Now, that was just cool. She definitely shows fierceness, but that was a quick thing. Then we jump to a scene that I can't quite make sense of yet. It shows from behind what looks like some Aes Sedai and warders facing a small camp. Now, I think I've figured out what's going on here, but I had to keep working my way through the video before I put all the pieces together. So, these Aes Sedai and warders, they're looking at a small camp, and then it reverses view, and we can see a broader view of the group. Seemingly 3 green sisters, 3 red sisters, and what looks like Nynaeve and Lan.
Mm-hmm.
That is parts of what it was particularly confusing at first. Why would Lan be there with Nynaeve, and there's no Moraine in the image at all? And Nynaeve is wearing all green, like she's a green sister, but what? So it was a little confusing. I chalked it up to maybe it's coincidence.
Possibility.
Oh, I think I figured it out for later, but what's your possibility you want to throw in right now?
All right. Post-Shatter Logoth, somewhere in that, Moraine got stabbed. Moraine and Lan and Nynaeve all somehow from there ended up with the Loghain party. Moraine had to get healed, what we saw earlier. Therefore, she's not in that shot. She's not on her feet yet. Nynaeve, wearing green clothes, travel clothes, happened to be green. We also have that one with the ravine, though, that we can't see who it is. We don't even know if it's the same shot. So no, it's totally possible. Fleeing a Shatter Logoth, her clothes are soaked. But you run into these new people, and 4 of them are green Aja. What clothes are they going to have on spare to give you? Green clothes.
I always figured Nynaeve was wearing brown. Just stout, 2 Rivers, wool, and just in my mind it was brown, just because brown is a basic, simple color, but it could be green.
But we didn't see
it could be
any
just
proof
coincidence.
Of that.
Yeah, it could just be coincidence that it's green. That could be.
And I feel like in some of the promotional stuff, she was wearing green, so...
I like your positing that Moraine's not in the picture because maybe she's healing from having...
That's when she's injured and healing.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
That's an interesting. Now, it could also be that she's just not in the frame. Because Leandrin's not there either. And I'll come back to that.
Maybe.
As we move further in here. Because more things came to my recollection or my noticing as we move farther in. I was like, oh, there's so much here. Because actually we don't get that many scenes in this trailer. Just different pieces of the same scenes. Again and again.
Unless you're wrong and they are different scenes, but they look similar, and so it's misleading intentionally.
Mm-hmm. All right, so piecing parts of the trailer together, the 3 greens we see in this scene are the same 3 we saw in the Hall of the Tower scene. I went back and I looked. Same ladies. It's also the same 3 red sisters minus Leandrin. I went and I double-checked. I looked. Same 3 sisters that were off to the side. Leandrin standing in the middle at the Hall of the Tower scene.
Think we might have a Leandrin Black Aja run away sooner?
No, I just think she's not in the picture. But
she's
around.
Not in the first shot. She is in the later shot. We're saying.
Well, she is in the shot with the 4 red that show up.
The Hall of the Tower
by themselves, but in the Hall of the Tower, you had the 3 red, and then Leandrin's standing in the middle next to Moraine. But in that scene where we see them all standing there with something about to happen to them out in the wilderness, there's no Leandrin there.
Okay.
But I'm saying, those 3 red are the same red we saw in the Hall of the Tower with Leandrin.
Okay.
I'm not sure where I lost you.
No, just keep going. Just keep going. Because I see what you're saying. I just don't know why you're saying it.
Okay, I'm tying some connections together here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same 3 green. It's the same 3 red that we had seen in the Hall of the Tower are in this moment.
Right.
We get to see this group all ready for some confrontation as arrows come raining down at them, and one green sister, who the one I guessed was Alana Masfani, uses the 1 power and freezes the arrows in the sky, stopping them in their tracks.
Wraps them in bands of air.
Yep,
basically.
That's what we would guess. Now we move into the bold "This November" shot, which gives us an amazing look from above the White Tower, the northern half of Tarvalon. North Harbor is clearly in view. And
Cool.
3 of the bridges across the Aranon. How might I have concluded it's North Harbor and not South Harbor?
I assume probably in some relation to like Dragon Mount or lack thereof.
You're correct. Because we had the original scene that showed Dragon Mount. This scene does not show Dragon Mount. But we know from reading the books, knowing the maps, Dragon Mount is northwest of Tarvalon. I looked at what we do see in that second shot. I lined it up with what we saw in the first shot and said, we're still looking north. We're just not looking northwest anymore. We're looking north. So Dragon Mount is off to the left side.
Dragon Mount south.
No.
Dragon Mount southwest of Tarvalon.
No.
Look at the map.
I'm going to open
it
it up now. But no, can't be. It is not south. It's like...
Just look at your wall.
It's like straight west.
It's southwest.
Maybe slightly southwest. Okay, Discord just put from southeast to northwest. Yeah, that's not true. It's mostly straight west, maybe just a touch southwest. But the point is, it is definitely to the left. So now
Sure.
I have to look at that and go, okay, so the TV has it just completely wrong in some way, maybe. Because it has it.
I did honestly.
on the side
I didn't read into or care too much.
It has
I feel
it.
bad. Didn't care that much. Which
It has
side
it-
it was.
It has it to the side of the river and up. And now, as I look at the map, because you poked holes in my theory, I'm like, there's no way the TV can be right. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Let's just say it was North Harbor. I like that theory. My memory was clearly flawed. We'll see what everybody else's breakdown video said about that. Next, we get to see Matt and Rand climbing up a mountain. And they're climbing away from a walled city off in the distance. It's hard to know what we're looking at here, but at the only time Rand and Matt are together on their own is after they escape from Whitebridge. Now that city off in the distance, there's no way that's Whitebridge.
If we still don't know what's up with Tom, and there's no Barrelon, then Matt and Rand are potentially on their own post Shadow Logoth.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure that's Shadow Logoth they see in the distance. Now, it's right up along a river. Shadow Logoth was not along a river. But okay.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes,
there
it
was
is.
No. There was a river nearby. It was not right up against the city. Yes, they fled. And they ran away from the walls.
Okay.
And they make it away to the river. But it wasn't right up against the river.
I got the impression it was real fast because coming out at multiple different points from the city, people end up either out and on this side, out and jump into the river, or out and on a boat in the river. So 2 of 3 different groups end up with the river.
Yeah, they had to travel a distance from the city before they got to the river. I will encourage you to go back and look in the book there, because there is some distance.
I don't think they have to travel very far. It's like they don't have the city doesn't have docks.
Very far is such a relative term. The city does not have docks. They are not right up against the river.
I think that is fair. It doesn't have docks. It is very close. They don't have docks. As far as I
Not
know.
like it's pictured here. But it's just a little thing. It's a nuance thing. Where I really wanted to go with this, though, is if they're climbing up a mountain in the distance now, and they're clearly going away from the city, this confirms another thing here. There's no Beldome here. They don't flee with Tom and get on a boat. Because A, they're not with Tom yet, and B, they're clearly not getting on a boat. They're climbing up a mountain on the other side of the river from Shadar Logoth and running away. So I think that says there's no Beldome and there's no White Bridge.
Wait, but you just said this city's not Shadar Logoth. You just said this city's not Shadar Logoth because it's against a river.
I did not say that. I said I believe it's Shadar Logoth and that's an adaptation change. They put it against a river, but that's not accurate to the book. That's all I was saying.
I thought you were saying... What I was very confused was I thought you were saying that it wasn't Shadar Logoth because it's against a river. And I was like,
no,
what?
No. It's
Okay.
in my mind, it's definitely Shadar Logoth. It's just they changed that. And that's not like the book. That's all.
Weird other possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't meet up in Camelin. Maybe they meet up in Tarvalin and they're leaving Camelin or something.
We have no evidence one way or another. Oh, that's no way that's Camelin. Is that what you're just trying to say?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
It doesn't look like anything like the Camon.
I'm throwing shit at the wall and hoping anything sticks so that I have multiple things on the record between us going, we don't know what this is. And that's okay.
No. Yeah. We've seen Camelin. That didn't look anything like Camelin. Sorry.
Have we seen Camelin?
Oh, no. Sorry. I'm thinking Tarvalon now. Wow.
We've seen Tarvalin.
But Camelin's not... No, it's not Camelin.
I don't think it is. But I don't know what it is.
All right. Camelin's not up against a river either, by the way. You know that, right?
You said adaptation. It could be whatever. If you were saying it can be Shadar Logoth and that's not against the river, it can be whatever city I want. They could have gone down to Kyrian, which is along a river. I don't know.
It is.
Maybe they're combining lots of things. Maybe it is Kyrian and they're leaving. I don't know. You see some topless towers?
All right, we jump back just a bit then. Some scenes inside Shadar Logoth. We see Matt picking up the dagger. The ruby hilted, clearly meaning there's ruby embedded. It's not like in the book, but I'm okay with that. It's part of the hilt. It's fine. There's a ruby. We already had a heads up on that.
Can I go a shot back that you skipped? It's right before the ruby hilted dagger. It's Rand with a bow.
Okay, I didn't see anything I wanted to mention about that. Go ahead.
See, this is the thing. It's a minor thing. That's not a Two Rivers longbow. It's not even a longbow. Rand is known for having like a 7-foot bow, basically. It's a quarterstaff that he pulls back. So either that's not a Two Rivers longbow, or the show's just not making a big deal out of it. Either way is fine, but I just thought it was worth mentioning of going, that's a notable difference because that's not a longbow.
All right.
Anyway, ruby hilted dagger looks kind of cool. Not like the little chapter heading with the curve. It was very straight, but I kind of like it.
I've seen the memes that show him with that image holding it in front of him, and they say, "What could go wrong?"
My precious.
And then we see two different views of various members of the party seeing and running from a blackness, a darkness that seems to be overtaking statues, buildings, the city. It seems to be what they're doing with Mashadar, so I thought you might be really comfortable knowing there are no silver tentacles in the TV version.
I never said silver.
Just the fact there's no tentacles, you might feel better.
You know, it's much more, for my Doctor Who fans, Vashta Narada. If you are familiar with that, I'm proud of you, and we suffered together. It was great. Not because it was terrible, but quite literally because it was traumatic. Count the shadows.
I do want to know what you think about, though, of the shift of Mashadar from being some silvery octopusy thing to just black shadow overtaking things. What do you think of that?
Mashadar's ever been silvery? I always thought of it as like a black mist.
No, it was a fog that had shape, and I'd never pictured it black. But if you did, then this is no big deal.
Exactly. No, it was like
I'm pretty sure it says silver.
I imagined it as fog and mist and all that, but dark shadow. So it's a mist of shadow to me. So no, this is like totally fine. I'm apparently horribly wrong. It is silver apparently in the books.
Oh yeah, good.
But
It
no,
says totally
I
silver. I was gonna look it up because I'm like, you are, yeah, that's totally silver. But okay.
but my headcanon works with the show, and
Well,
I'm
there
okay
you go.
with it.
That's all we really needed. Then we have a quick moment of Matt seeing a dead body in a cage, suspended, riddled by arrows. Any idea what the heck that's about? Because I got nothing. Yeah, you look stumped too.
Well, not really. I have a thought,
Okay, hit me.
and it doesn't make much sense. And technically, it's a little ahead of where we are in the books. So you may or may not even have to cut this out. But the one time that we really see someone in a cage is an Aiel man in a cage.
Yeah, but this guy's dead already. So,
And so it's not that, but maybe it's some part of that, and maybe this is one of our first hints of Aiel crossing the spine earlier or something.
so you think maybe it's an Aiel? Interesting.
Maybe. I mean,
We'll find out.
that or like it's the carnage of what White Cloaks have left behind, and that's some of what we're seeing. I don't know.
All right. Next, we have an awesome interchange between a wolf and Perrin. We don't get much, but it's a real wolf. That was excellent.
We just see Wolf, and we see Perrin, and we go, yeah,
Yes.
if we know, we know.
Any connection between Perrin and wolves is awesome. Okay. Then we get the seemingly intimate moment between a shirtless Rand and an apparently unclothed Egwene just draped in a blanket, sitting in what looks like some big open place like the common room of an inn in front of a fire. It's a moment that speaks to perhaps there being a more advanced relationship between these two than in the books, but the setting was strange
age
to
up
me.
the cast some. They did have this whole thing.
But where? Where? I mean, this made no sense to me, the setting. I could not figure out where in the world this would be.
The lighting reminded me of what we kind of saw with the Wine Spring Inn, but
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense for why the
None.
two of them would be that way.
No,
Unless,
none at all.
we've just completely changed things. And honestly, do I care? Not really. Maybe it's even a whole thing of she came back at one point and was still wet and he took off his shirt. I don't know.
I'm like,
why is he not wearing a shirt? I don't know.
Like, Egwene's folks are like, yeah, you two, you can have the common room tonight. No problem. We'll stay out.
I don't
Go
think,
for it. Have fun, kids.
I do disagree with you. I don't think she's naked underneath blanketness or
Looked
whatever.
pretty obvious.
We can't see enough to tell. I have no idea. Point is, not knowing where this comes from, this is either yes, more or less they had sex, or we have no idea what's happening, but they want us to think that.
Their closeness, though, is very much on display in Egwene's face as Rand settles down next to her. She's, it's just this. There's a clear bond between them. Not that it's like, oh, we just had sex on her face. Not that. But there's definitely an intimacy. And then a pain as she turns away.
No, but I appreciate that because I think the book almost lacks some of that. In that we're told that it's there over and over, but I don't really feel that it's there over and over. That, like, they're betrothed, but not really, and then they're not. But, like, I saw it there.
There are people who definitely say that Robert Jordan didn't do relationships real well. That wasn't one of his
Which means
strengths as an author.
adaptations and really good acting has the opportunity to improve upon that aspect.
We jump from this, it's a quick little scene, to Perrin and Matt sitting together against a column, some big broken down large stone building. We're not sure what this moment is. It screams Shatter Logoth to me.
If it's broken down and it's a column and it's big, it's Shadow Logoth. That's my brain.
And then we move right along.
Honestly, if we get more time in Shadow Logoth, I'm happy. So
we have 3 circular shots, a scene from above, right in succession. First, and they all flow after a close-up of Tamal Thor as he's doing a voiceover talking about the wheel of time. The wheel turns, So
Hi,
it's
Bruce Bolton. We like you better here.
nice, totally. So there is some symbology here, and it was cool. The first one is clearly the people dancing a familiar folk dance during winter night in Emmons Field. That was obvious. But the second one, you got 2 rows and 2 circles, concentric circles of dead bodies, all wrapped.
And that's the thing. The wrappedness was. It's clearly been like burial shroudish
Yes.
done or something. This is like an honorary thing.
And I looked at the people who are standing there, which is the part that's easy to miss when you just watch through. But I, of course, stopped it. I studied. The people who are standing there, we're talking about, it's the same green and red Aes Sedai from that battle scene
the
earlier with the
Arrow crew.
arrows.
Arrow crew.
Yep. And the warders.
And
you
I
can
believe
see,
it includes Moraine at the bottom somewhere.
and Leandrin. They're both visible in this picture. And Nynaeve is still there, off to the side.
Well, she was there in the Arrow picture.
So this suggests that while we didn't see Moraine and Leandrin before, they were around somewhere. They just weren't in that particular image. Okay?
And perhaps in some way, shape, or form, this is following that moment. There was a continued altercation past the arrows that led to deaths.
Yep. In some way, this is like an end result. Now, maybe it's the end result of the battle that they killed all these people, or maybe this is before the battle. This is what they found, which led them to end up confronting those people. But we don't know. That part we can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then that circle leads us off to one more circle, the Hall of the Tower, seen from above, which was just cool. With all the sitters and the Emerlin seat walking back to her chair. And it was just kind of cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Now, the scene with the dead bodies, the Aes Sedai, the battle that we saw earlier, all that. I think it's possible that what we're seeing here is that the confirmation after Shatter Logoth, like we talked about before, Moraine, Lan, Nynaeve, they're together. They do get together with this group of Aes Sedai, and this is all tied to the false dragon Logain. And the battle we see earlier
I agree.
is that they already have Logain captured, and these are followers of the false dragon coming to try to free him. And Lan, Nynaeve, maybe Moraine, they get sucked into being part of keeping him from being freed.
What I've seen in the trailer needs me to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a casting on Mazrim Taim?
No.
See, my concern is that in some way, shape, or form, Logain and Taim's stories might be melded into one person.
That would suck, I'm just going to say. Because
they are
later.
In many ways, they're opposites.
So opposite.
On a similar path. And I think you could make a storyline that would be interesting of it goes one way or the other, and fans don't know which way it's actually going to go because it's just the one person instead of two. But it feels dissatisfying. I'm not happy with the fact
we need both.
that I feel like that's possible from what I've seen.
They are too significant. And this early in the books, there's no Mazrim Taim. We've had him mentioned at one point, but he's not part of it. So this is all Logain, and it doesn't mean we can't have Taim.
Individual captured, carried, escaped.
Now, this does not show him escape, which we're going to get to just a little bit farther.
No, but it doesn't show him in that moment.
Not in that very moment, but it shows him shortly.
In the body scene, we don't see him. We see him shortly, yes.
Yes.
And that's where I go, maybe this is all tied together, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that I'm wrong.
The next scene we get is a total call out to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. as we hear Lan saying the Dark One is coming for your friends. And we get to see Lan finish that statement to someone who's holding a sword in him. And I'd guess that's Nynaeve. The Dark One is coming for your friends. He's talking to Nynaeve because when you look at the arm that's held out, it seems to have the same rough like cottony rough frill thing like her dress we see later in clear image. Mm-hmm. Plus, you can kind of see a braid hanging over her shoulder. You can't be sure. It's fuzzy. But the focus is on Lan, but I think it's Nynaeve.
I'm totally okay with that.
Okay. I'm
okay with that.
But before and after the Lan shot, we're getting our first images of a fade, of a Myrddraal, as you like to say. And this first look before Lan is totally the Nazgul in the Shire looking for the hobbits. It's the same image.
I was watching Fellowship of the Ring with Rach.
Yeah.
And I'd been reading through some Wheel of Time with her, and so I was pointing out and stuff. Yeah, this clearly inspired the black-cloaked rider. Cloak doesn't move in the wind. It's this. This is the same thing. These are different things, but they're the same thing.
Totally. Yep. So I loved that. I thought that was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then the scene after Lan shows that same Myrddraal riding forward, leading a pack of Trollocs.
Oh, the riding forward one.
Yeah, you got all the Trollocs around, and it's like, dang. And then we have a couple of throwaway action scenes. Matt and Rand running away from someone. We don't know where that is. We don't know what that is.
Don't know.
It could be Emmons Field. Could be some village along the Cayman Road. We don't know.
We could look really closely and speculate, but it's not worth the time at the moment.
Well, I did look closely, and I saw a bunch of other villagers along the way, not paying any attention at all. But right near the end of the clip, you see a woman come around the corner chasing them. So, like, maybe they dine and ditched.
Man, I wish Perrin was there. He would understand.
And then, despite the serious music and stuff that's going on there, I think this is out of context. I don't think this is Rand and Matt in some actual danger. So, just going on record there.
I don't know.
Okay.
Could be.
The next action scene, it's very short. The next action scene, again, very short. It's just some bad guys. And it's only apparent they're bad guys because they have angry looks on their faces. They're jumping over things, coming through the woods like they're about to fight. It's a very tiny little clip.
Is that the blurry looking one?
It's movement. I don't know about blurry.
Just keep going.
And it's followed right away. Followed right away by Lan punching one of them. So I'm speculating this goes with that theory that Lan, Moraine, and Nynaeve are with the Aes Sedai traveling with the captive Logain, and these are his crew.
Followers of the Logain dragon.
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps that they jump then to showing Logain being held in a cage in some cave or broken down stone structure, and we see him use the power to free himself, flinging the two Aes Sedai guards away.
That looks badass. I need you to cut this next thing unless I say it vague enough, and I'm not sure I will. It looks very badass and reminds me of a much later scene when a different person breaks out of a box.
Yeah, maybe that's vague enough. I can leave it. But interesting. I like it. Those two Aes Sedai get flung back. Again, the red, the green. The green one in particular we see flung very hard into a stone column.
That's the one that dies, and then the ring is getting mourned later.
That's right. A few moments later in this trailer, we see Logain has been, like, frozen in place now. He's got power, like, trapping him, kneeled on the ground, and you can see Moraine is doing it. And Lan is next to her. But you see that warder that was crying before, now with his double axes, jumping, the power leap, to strike down Logain. And you can see in the background there that green Aes Sedai is still lying limp on the ground. So yes, I completely believe that blast killed her. This is his Aes Sedai now striking out, but Moraine has already totally shielded and blocked him, And so his axes will just bang off of her shield. And Logain is fine. That's what I read in that.
I don't know if I fully agree. Just because I think there's enough pieces of this scene in the trailer. There's like at least 4 different pieces of parts of the scene. And I don't know that they're in order. I don't know what the order
Well,
is.
they haven't been. You're right.
But it's a mess. And figuring out exactly how that fits together, maybe you're right. Maybe you're not. We'll find out.
I noticed in that scene, though, that the power around Logain inside... Well, first when he breaks free, and then later when he's being shielded by whatever Moraine has done, there's like spidery black stuff around him.
It's the taint.
Like right before the cage bursts, you can see the spidery black along his face.
It's the taint.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think that is the image of the taint?
I think it's a depiction of the taint. I think it's very cool.
Okay. I agreed.
I think it's very subtle though.
Yeah.
And you can easily miss that.
Okay, so I jumped ahead in the trailer to get that breaking out of the cage. So let me jump back. There's some additional quick moments. We see Nynaeve in the woods, looking wide-eyed at something. She's looking the same direction from which it looked like the attackers were coming. So I think it's the same scene. She's seeing all these Logain followers charging now.
Fair enough. It's a good shot.
And lands probably in between. Then we're back in the hall of the tower. Well, just outside it. Now this is an interesting scene. The door is open, Moraine is walking out, and we see all 7 of the other sisters who had been in the center with her. They're all waiting outside already, as she now exits. But we can see beyond her, inside the tower, the 3 brown sitters. They're the only ones we have an angle of. They're standing in front of their chairs with their backs to Moraine. Like with their backs to the center of the room. They're not moving. They're just standing there. So my speculation is that the other 7 were told to leave the room. Moraine stayed for some reason. And then something occurred where all the sitters formally censured her in some manner. They all stood. They turned their backs to her. And then she leaves. I don't know. It's pure speculation. It's my biggest reach of anything here. But that looked... Whoa. What is that? Again, not in the book. This whole scene's not in the book. What do you think?
The other possibility of something in my mind is perhaps it is a somehow symbolic way of how voting in the hall is done.
Maybe.
And I don't know exactly what the voting would be.
I don't know why they'd still be standing in place as the doors open and she's leaving, though.
Tradition, some weird... A lot of the things that happen in and around the Hall of the Tower, whether in the book or in a theoretical adaptation, are stupid. I'm sorry. They are. It's politics of the highest matter. It doesn't need to make sense. It's how it's always been done, so it's how it's done.
Then we get some voiceover from Swan Sanche, the Amerlin in casual attire. We see her for just a moment, speaking close up, face to face with someone about the last battle is coming. We can't see who she's talking to because it's all fuzzy. The focus is wrong. But there does appear to be a gold hoop earring in the left ear that we can see. It's blurry, but I think it matches what we saw Moraine wearing earlier. And that matches what we know from the books, too. I think this is a private conversation.
Yes. The best I can tell is that's the Faldara conversation equivalent.
Yeah, equivalent. I think it happens in Tar-Valon, but yeah, the equivalent. Then we get a bunch of snippets. Trollocs coming for battle. It looks like the Trollocs at Winternight, just with some of the colors that you see there. Moraine galloping her horse through the woods with urgency, which could be anything.
Anywhere, anytime, anything.
Yep. Then we have Lan in some woods. Anywhere. He's looking up, back from a crouch. It's like...
He's tracking.
Okay. A dramatic moment. Then we have a large group of the armed men charging from the camp at the Aes Sedai we saw earlier. Now, if you don't look carefully, you can't see the Aes Sedai, because it's at the level of the men. But they're all charging forward, and if you look carefully, and of course I froze the scene and looked frame by frame, you can see those Aes Sedai, Alana, the Reds, the Greens, they're all there.
From arrow scene.
So this is the group now charging probably after the arrows had been attempted.
I mean, those were unsuccessful, so you gotta send guys instead.
So these are the soon-to-be Shrouds. Maybe.
Or the Shroud Avengers or something, who knows.
It's noticeable they're not in any uniforms. These are just rogue guys with weapons charging Aes Sedai, which is never a good idea.
It's Rogue One.
Then we get a scene. Nynaeve and Egwene defending themselves with daggers in the dark in some village. I'm guessing that's Winternight again. We're jumping back there.
Possibly.
And then we have Lan fighting on Winternight, while the One Power is clearly in use all around him, and we get to see him take out the legs of 3 Trollocs with one blow. That was cool.
Yeah, that one's clear. I think what's fun there is seeing, if you look, you don't ever get a really good look at it, but seeing what Lan's sword actually looks like.
Yeah, we didn't get that yet. You're right.
But you do see it.
And to me, it, but not close up.
I could be wrong, but I think did go with the single-edged slight curve.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I have to go look again.
I think it's there, and I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Because it's a very small detail, but it's very cool that something like that is in there, because it, to me, also shows a hopeful that some of those sword forms will follow with what fans believe they imagine when they hear them.
Then the trailer goes black, and the scene comes up on 4 riders approaching 4 others who are standing by their horses or sitting on them in front of what we believe is the adaptation's version of a waygate. Big departure from what they looked in the books, but
Definitely.
It's something significant.
Honestly, I was never too attached to waygates, so it's fine.
And they serve a purpose for a short period of time. Yeah.
And then they leave and come back and leave and come back, and
the 4 that are riding up, we can be pretty sure are Mat, Rand, Lan, and Nynaeve from the look. Awaiting them, that group is in the distance more. It's a little harder to be sure who we're looking at. I think I see Perrin on the far left on his horse, and Moraine standing next to her horse on the far right, closest to the waygate. But then there's 2 in the middle, where it's hard to tell who we're seeing. I think we're seeing Egwene on the left and Loyal on his horse on the right. Now, if I'm right, that is the only viewing of Loyal in the teaser trailer. And it's barely a glimpse, but I think that's who we see. He's big.
Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. You might be right. In fact, you're probably right. It just feels really gross because we know if you can avoid it, Loyal doesn't ride a horse.
But he does on occasion, from necessity.
When he's kind of forced to. He really doesn't like doing it.
Discord thinks it's Loyal.
So if the only look we get is him on a horse, like, it's fine. It is what it is. But a little piece of it just, like, hurts.
The trailer goes into a big finish then, with a rider slowly entering Emond's Field in the dark, which I think is actually jumping back all the way to the beginning. That's Moraine's original entrance. Then we get the amazing Myrddraal scream, which is the stuff of nightmares. On a Twitter poll I did on some best things from this trailer, the Myrddraal was the winner. What do you think of the Myrddraal, Zach?
Now, when you say Myrddraal scream, you mean like the open mouth face close-up thing, right?
Totally, yes. What do you think?
I think a couple of things. One, I'm not sure that we're going to see shit. My mind's blanking. Help me out.
No, I didn't think we were going to see shit either. So that's fine.
Flying bat-like vampire creature in Wheel of
Drakkar.
Thank you, Drakkar. Wow. My brain was just gone for a moment. I'm not sure we're going to see a Drakkar. Because I think the Myrddraal shriek and teeth situation kind of fills in some of that horror there. I think they might just omit Drakkar.
They could.
That being said, the combination of lack of eyes in the way that they did, I think the addition of teeth, while making it a little less human, does make it more monstrous. I like it.
It was one of the big question marks. What were they going to do? What were they going to make this thing look like? And yeah, I like it.
I always kind of imagined the mouth of Sauron from Return of the King. That's what I imagine a lot of like the face of Murdral kind of looking like. It's like, it's gross, but it is human on the bottom half.
But what they did with it is when his mouth is closed, it looks pretty normal, except with a hood covering the eyes, because there's no eyes, and then he opens his mouth and it's like, holy crap, it's a lamprey eel. Yeah.
But when the mouth opens, it looks like that worm from Tremors, or a Sarlacc. It's a Sarlacc pit inside of his face. It's fun. It's gross. And it's great.
Then there are more various scenes from the Battle of Winternight featuring Trollocs, Lan doing Lan, Moraine doing things with the power, and it culminates with her bringing down the lightning to take out a whole bunch of Trollocs. Again, we're seeing Moraine using the one power, and it doesn't look like I imagined while reading the books, but it totally works for me. And you're on record, it kind of totally works for you too, right?
I'm on the record that the weaves look like I imagine. It was a little body performative, which I expect for any visual adaptation. Simply because one problem with the books being adapted to any sort of film or TV is that it makes a point to say, you don't have to do anything. You don't move your hands. You don't do stuff. For most things, it's all your mind.
Yeah.
And that doesn't carry over well.
Nah.
It just doesn't.
Okay, finally, we end with the Wheel of Time logo. Amazon's come up with that spiraled snake symbolizing the Wheel of Time. And then the release date, November 19th. Awesome.
I'm excited.
So much.
I also think it would be really fun if they play with the snake logo and change it per season, especially if like the Eye of the World is involved. And so it's the spirally snake for this first season, but then later on it changes to the snake circling around something else or with something. I think it has potential to be something fun. Probably won't be, but it could be.
So when I planned out this episode, I honestly didn't mean us to talk quite about as much as we just did. But
I thought it was going to be like half an hour, and then you were really in depth, like every shot. And I was
started writing notes and I couldn't stop because it's so good. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so sorry. But it was just amazing. And I'm probably not going to edit much. I'm probably going to just drop this raw right out there and say, hey, enjoy. Here's our breakdown. Because I think we talked just fine.
Maybe just take a peek on the couple spoiler things. Put some
beeps. Yeah, I got to chop that one.
But besides that, this has been a fun episode. Definitely different than our norm. Definitely longer than some of our episodes, but also in there with some of our content.
We do know a lot more now about the show than we did before, and it's pretty great. We also know that there will be another longer trailer coming. This was 2 minutes, so 3 minutes? 3.5 minutes? We don't know. We'll see. And we know that the show will drop with the first 3 episodes on November 19th.
And then every episode, new episode every Friday until December 24th.
That's right. And then we can wait for the next season.
I am saying, on the record,
yeah,
if you don't feel comfortable giving money to Amazon, that is absolutely okay. I'm sure there are not legal ways to watch this, but I think you should watch it.
No, you can't say that on here. Come on, we'll get blocked.
I didn't say they should do say they should do illegal things. Dang. Just if they're not comfortable with it, I'm not blaming them for doing something illegal.
One more thing.
I'm not endorsing it. Now. I'm just not blaming it.
Okay, any last comments or insights about the show before we wrap this up?
All of the things that I have issue with are minor issue of it not necessarily matching up exactly with how I envision something, but it doesn't detract from the spirit of it. And ultimately, I think it's a beautiful rendition and adaptation. So I think I'm going to be very satisfied and happy with it.
I like it. I agree so much. All right, then we'll wrap this up. Again, if you've enjoyed being with us, be sure to tell people, rate us. You can find us in all the usual places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, yada yada, wherever you found us. If they've got a star system, give us the max stars. If you can write a review, we'd love to have one. Any reviews that actually get written that we notice, we'll read them here, and we'd love to do that.
Indeed.
We also encourage you to connect with us in any of the ways that you'd like. We've got an email, fantasyfortheages@gmail.com. We're all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Connect with us there. How else can they connect with us, Zach?
You also can find a link to our Discord in this show notes or other ones. I can't speak, and that's fine.
Don't look for the Discode.
And so can you.
Look for the code for the Discord. That'll work.
Look for the Discode to our Discord, where you can type instead of speak, where I wish I was. Oh wait, I am. So come join the conversation. It'll be a great time.
And of course, there's our Patreon page, another way you can interact with us. I'll put a link to that in our show notes so you can be part of our live recordings like Flamingo Sedai was here today. Interact with us and help us make our show better. But that's it then. That's all we have today. Are we good, Zach?
Indeed.
All right. We'll talk to you
good.
next time.